Welcome and thank you for joining us today for AI-driven NetOps, how enterprises are embracing intelligent network management solutions. My name is Raleigh Gould and I'll be moderating today's event. Our featured speaker is Shamus McGillicuddy, Vice President of Research covering network infrastructure and operations at EMA. Shamus has nearly 2 decades of experience in the IT industry. His research focuses on all aspects of managing enterprise networks, including network automation, AI ops driven network operations, multi cloud networking, and WAN transformation. And before I hand things over to Shamus, I wanted today's audience to know that Shamus will be concluding today's presentation by taking your questions. Feel free to log them anytime by using the Q&A functionality. Also, today's event is being recorded, and you will receive a follow-up email from EMA with a link to the on-demand playback, as well as a link to this new research. So I hope you'll check that email out. And now I'd like to go ahead and turn things over to our featured speaker, Shamus McGillicuddy. Shamus?
Okay, thank you, Raleigh, and thank you everyone for joining us today. As Raleigh mentioned, this is a webinar presenting research findings from our newest report, AI Ops Driven NetOps. I'm sorry, AI Driven NetOps, not AI Ops Driven NetOps. AI Driven NetOps, how enterprises are embracing intelligent network management solutions. So this is independent research written by me, no editorial input from anyone else, but it is made financially possible by our vendor partners. In this case, they are presented here to you in alphabetical order: Blue Cat and Broadcom, Efficient IP, Gigamon, IBM, Infoblox, and Riverbed. This is a variety of different kinds of vendors who play in the network operations world and adjacent markets, offering DNS, DHCP, and IP address management solutions, network observability solutions, network visibility solutions, AI solutions. So thank you to all 7 of these vendors for making it financially possible for me to do this research. So why and how did EMA do this research? AI-driven network management has both changed a lot over the last few years and also changed hearts and minds a lot over the last few years. When I talk to a lot of network infrastructure and operations people, engineers, architects, directors of network operations, every year, dozens and dozens of them every year. And the types of conversations I have with them about AI have changed. Um, 4, 5 years ago, they would say, maybe I'll use it someday, but I don't need it. I don't really trust it. To today, it's must have. Like it's an expectation in a lot of different ways. Like they expect their vendors to support them with AI or that support their AI ambitions. So 59% of in the context of this research that we just published, 59% of the people that we surveyed told us that AI features are very influential on their vendor selection for network infrastructure and network management products. Um, the other Another 40% said there's somewhat influential. So, like almost no one said it wasn't influential. And the idea that applying AI to network operations leading to better business outcomes is getting more traction. In 2023, 50% of people strongly agreed with that statement. Today, it's 55%. So it's not a huge movement, but clearly there is growing recognition that applying AI to NetOps leads to something good. Here's a quote from someone I talked to specifically for this research project, a network tools architect with a Fortune 500 retailer. He said, "We are moving from one networking vendor to another across 40,000 sites. AI was one of the biggest influences on our product selection." 40,000 sites changed over from one infrastructure vendor to another. the AI features of that new vendor was a deciding factor. And yet, success with AI is modest. We ask them in this research, it's the last question we ask in the survey after we've asked them like dozens of questions about the topic. We say, so how do you feel? Like, how successful? Now that you've like bared your soul with us about how you're using AI, like, tell us, how successful do you believe your organization has been so far with applying AI to network management? You see 35% almost say that we are a complete success to this point. Everyone else unsure to thinking we could do better. Partial success, almost 56% say partial success. That is them saying things are okay, but I know that we could do better. And that that group right there, the distinction between complete success and partial success is is a key area of crosstab analysis for me. Like I like that when I'm doing a big survey, I look at the difference between those two groups because the people in that blue pie slice there are admitting something. They're admitting that they're not doing as well as they'd like. Um, they're not admitting that they're a failure because rarely people will admit to being a failure, even in an anonymous survey. But they're also telling me that they're not ecstatic. And so I like to look at the differences between those two groups. What are they doing differently? Anyway, the goals for this AI-driven NetOps research were to explore what are IT organizations doing with AI for network management? How do they ensure success? What benefits does AI deliver? What challenges are they encountering? The research was based on a survey of 458 IT professionals about AI-driven network management engagement. Like, what are you using? What are you doing with it? What do you like about it? How has it changed things? Um, and these are the demographic details. You see a mix of technical personnel, middle management, and execs from more than a dozen industries, but most of them were from manufacturing, financial services, retail, and healthcare. Um, Company size, mid-size companies to very large, all kinds of IT groups. Network engineering was prominently featured, as was the CIO's office, an AI group or data science or analytics group, and some security. Security is pretty often in the mix too. And it was a transatlantic view of the subject. So we had in North America, mostly United States respondents, so a little bit of Canada, and then in Europe, it was the UK, Germany, and France. So, how do IT teams apply AI to network management today? 93% of them said that they had allocated some budget for AI-driven network management. We asked them, how are you spending that budget? 83% said, well, we're spending on AI solutions that our network vendors are offering, network infrastructure vendors or network management vendors. So tools, AI capabilities specifically delivered by the vendors we use for network infrastructure and network operations. 75% said they're actually spending money on general use AI tools integrated into their tools and or processes, like ChatGPT or um, whatever, Copilot, whatever, Claude, whatever. And they in that case they're like using it for, you probably can imagine like packet analysis, log analysis, writing a config, or maybe looking for diffs between production, the config they pull off a device and their standard, whatever. There's all kinds of things that they can do that are that they can get from like a general use LLM, not necessarily fully integrated in operations unless they're spending some money. Um, and then 43% said, "Oh, we're allocating budget for internally developed AI tools or models." So that's interesting. And 59% of the people in the survey said they're already using tools. I think I referenced that in an earlier slide, but they're already using AI tools that their network vendors had developed. So yeah, 83% allocating budget, 59% are already using or spending that budget. And in some cases, they might not actually be spending budget on that because the vendors bring it without additional cost, but I think that will fade away over time. Um, and we also found that agentic operations is replacing chatbots or virtual assistants. So we asked them, how do you prefer to interact with AI-powered network management capabilities today? And you see at the very bottom, the least popular thing was one-on-one interaction with virtual assistants and conversational interfaces. That's what was available like 4 or 5 years ago. Um, and it's still available today, but they're really looking to push past that. And you see what they're really interested in, or most of the biggest cohort in this research was interested in, was AI-enabled collaborative workspaces for teams. So they're all interacting with AI together. Maybe that's like something in Slack, but it's more likely like some kind of Canvas environment where they're sort of like they're like interacting with an agentic tool that's telling them this is what it sees and this is what it thinks is happening and here's what you could do, and people might work together saying, well, let's do this and try that, and I'm going to push this to that person and they can think about it, blah, blah, blah. And then nearly 30% are also like looking at it as let's just have it embedded in existing workflows, dashboards, reports, um, just AI insights infused into what we're already used to working with. Um, and then 19% said, oh, well, we like proactive contextual prompts and suggestions based on system state, which is kind of a bit more of like a virtual assistant on steroids, or an agentic assistant, perhaps. Um, we also asked them what use cases interest them across a couple different disciplines, and you see at the top of the list, really interested in vulnerability management, like an AI that's smart about identifying CVEs, for instance, and figuring out whether any of those exposures are on your network right now. Network problem detection, like, hey, here's an anomaly, we think it's a problem. Um, so security investigations and security incident detection. So a lot of SecOps oriented stuff and security policy optimization. You're seeing a lot of security here. And then alert management. So, being able to sort of send smarter alerts out to people once you've detected a problem, and then problem resolution, resource optimization, and network deployments are also of interest. Here's perspectives from a couple of subject matter experts I talked to for this research, because I forgot to mention, in addition to surveying 458 people online, I also did one-on-one interviews with half a dozen people, just to get some color and some additional insight into what the data was telling me. So I get this network tools lead at a very large bank saying that he likes the idea of using AI to improve troubleshooting, do some of the things that traditionally required a lot of experience. Packet analysis is kind of a lost art, he says. Having AI do that having AI having AI that can get into the complexity of that would be good. He can get that from ChatGPT, but having it fully integrated into a tool set, that's a different story. Um, Network tools director at a large university said, we'd like to leverage AI proactively to figure out what's going on with the network, to notice trends and anomalies, to go out and fix issues like switch misconfigurations. We want to get to the point where AI is telling us that there's something wrong that we should look at. We'd also like it to suggest playbooks that it can run to fix those issues. So this guy, or well, looks like a woman to me, is really looking for agentic operations. And actually, that person's job title recently changed to like network tools and AI solutions. So obviously, you know where they're going. Um, Evaluating AI for NetOps. So how do you figure out whether um, the things that your vendors are flogging out there on the street going to help you? Only 39% of the IT organizations that we surveyed in this research told us that they are completely effective at evaluating the AI tools that they're being marketed to or are using, thinking of using for NetOps specifically. So we asked them, how do you evaluate? And the ones that are highlighted in blue correlated with people who are feeling more successful about their overall approach to AI-driven NetOps. So potential best practices. Continuous accuracy monitoring and feedback loops in production was a big one. That might happen in a proof of concept deployment, or maybe you got a vendor that's layering AI onto your existing tool so that you can play with it in production, and you can do this continuous, you can continually monitor it for accuracy, and hopefully there's a feedback mechanism in there that you can say, I don't like this, I like this was useful, this was wrong, blah, blah, blah. Hey, industry analysts, people are doing inquiries and research, reading research on the topic to figure out who does what and what's useful. And that's a potential best practice. In-depth conversations with vendors about how they develop and train AI algorithms and models. Like ask them, how'd you do this? What'd you do wrong? How has your AI changed over time? Because 4 or 5 years ago, it seemed like you just had like a chatbot that could answer questions, and now you're doing this. And like, how'd you get there? I'd really like to understand how you approach things. Proof of concept deployments didn't stand out as a particular. It's popular, but it wasn't correlating with success necessarily. Not necessarily correlating with failure either, but it didn't pop as a best practice. And then explainable AI tools and resources and documentation. Like this is a whole like discipline in AI science. The idea of explainable AI, and then vendor content, like just the traditional consumption of solution briefs and data sheets and ebooks and white papers is useful. All right, so one big theme I saw in this research was that uh, data can be a problem. When you apply AI to network operations, it can expose a data problem that undermines everything. So most of the people we surveyed said that they knew that their data quality was not necessarily up to the task of, you know, supporting AI training or inference. Are you confident or doubtful that the quality of your organization's network data can support AI-driven network management in general? 44% said very confident. That's a pretty good number, but you see more than half saying somewhat confident. I don't know. I'm a little fuzzy on whether it's all good, all there. Um, and then a small number, 4%, were actually expressing doubt. Um, and you see this correlation on the right, data quality confidence cross-tabbed by overall success with AI-driven network management. So people who said very confident were more likely to tell us that they're a complete success. You're seeing a break here where the wishy-washy, somewhat confident people not are not feeling as good about what they're getting out of AI. There is a gap, a data gap. The data is undermining their success with AI, their payback, their return on investment. Why is data quality critical? Well, 99% of the people in the survey said that they expect their network management vendors to incorporate third-party data into inference and analysis. They feed their data into commercial AI tools. So they're like, okay, here's my config. Here are my security policies. Here's my IP address space. Consume this and incorporate it into your analysis. Well, what if that's all a mess? Because most people I talk to these days say that their operational data for the network, about their network is poor, scattered, of dubious quality, uh, not necessarily authoritative. They might have like 3 or 4 different IP address plans. They might have a CMDB that completely disagrees with what the network engineering team has for configs and GitHub or whatever. It's problematic. They're also building data lakes for AI. 85% are establishing data lakes with IT and security data. Uh, and 35% said that those data lake projects were exclusively related to their ambitions for AI-driven IT operations and AI-driven SecOps. And another 58% said that the data lake projects were related to AI, and AI was one of several drivers of their data lake ambitions. So they're building data lakes, right? Many of them are building more than one uh, data lake, and you know, are they getting the quality right as they do that? I think it's a expensive and overwhelming project to build these data lakes, which is a repository of a lot of data in its raw form, so that it can be analyzed in a variety of different ways. And how accurate is that data? Have there been errors in correction, etc.? Well, and that quality issue rears its head in a lot of different ways. So people who told us that they were less confident in their network data said that it slows down time to value for AI. Like if they've adopted a tool, like its time to value is longer. Uh, they also told us that once they've deployed AI tools into production, if the data is poor, uh, they're seeing their NetOps people use it less often, probably because they're not getting good results because the data is breaking the AI inference. Um, and that leads to the third one here. Overall trust in AI is lower when when confidence in data quality is lower. Um, Tool consolidation. The people in this research told us that they viewed AI as an opportunity to address their tool sprawl and network operations. And people who had lower confidence in data quality were less likely to expect that tool consolidation to actually happen. And then a lot of people in this survey told us that they were interested in using AI to implement or enable autonomous networking to some degree. That comfort evaporated among people who had low confidence in their data. So what that tells you is you need good data, otherwise, whatever you're trying to do with AI is going to break. These are the data quality challenges that they were struggling with the most. So data collection errors, like packet drops and whatnot, 36% were struggling with that. Just as many were also talking about how they're having storage issues, like data corrupted or they're running out of capacity because they are collecting more and more and more data. That's a huge theme in my research overall. Not necessarily seen in this research, but the last few times I've surveyed people about whether they're seeing the amount of like an increased volume in data collected from their network. It's been happening big time. Like people are collecting more and more data from their network for operations. And now you're seeing these storage issues. It's getting expensive. 35% said they were struggling with the fact that they have formatting inconsistency across vendors because many people have multi-vendor networks. They might have one vendor that dominates, but then they got a firewall vendor. Maybe they got one vendor that provides wired and wireless in all their campus and branch networks, and then they got an SD-WAN vendor that from a second vendor, and maybe a third vendor for data center networking, and they want to have end-to-end. They want their AI to sort of enable end-to-end network operations, and they have formatting inconsistency across those vendors. And then you throw in like cloud networking to the mix, and it gets even uglier because so many people are multi-cloud now, and like, oh yeah, I get these VPC logs, flow logs from AWS, and I get something similar from Azure, and then I have like NetFlow that I gather from all my Cisco switches, and those are not formatted the same way, and my AI tool's kind of struggling with that. They're not even really conceptually the same, let alone formatted the same. 35% said they have blind spots. They need to collect data from more places in order to get more value out of AI. But it's expensive to do that and complex, and they lack people to do it, to instrument it. 32% said they have siloed data and data conflicts. Which one is authoritative? Because these two don't agree. And then 32% actually said they're struggling with malicious activity where they're training models, but there's hackers poisoning the data. So that's interesting. And just at the bottom of the list, some color from a network tools architect at Fortune 500 retailer saying that one of the things we're struggling with is data quality. We don't have good inventory data. It's not easy to know what should be online or not online. Another problem is we have more than 200,000 duplicate IP addresses. Uh, that's not good. 200,000, he said. Um, that is a very large company, by the way. That is one of the largest companies in the world. Not great. So AI for networking outcomes. Pitfalls to avoid. We asked them about technical pain points and business pain points, and these are the ones that rose to the top. So on the technical pain point side, data issues, we just went into that exhaustively, so I won't go into that anymore, but that's the top technical pain point with AI-driven network management. And then network complexity, which actually rears its head in the data quality issue too, because I just talked about like all the different formatting you might get from your different vendors. And you've got multiple clouds, and you've got multiple data centers, and you've got the internet is a huge part of your WAN now, and what kind of data you can get from that? Well, not very good. So yeah, complexity. And then the two other technical issues, like they're struggling to audit and verify AI outcomes, and they feel like the AI they're using isn't trained properly on their particular networks. On the business side of things, they're worried about security and compliance risk. Oh, well, do we have to send all our data into the cloud? What are they going to do with it? But also, like, if I let AI do things, is it going to open up vulnerabilities on my network because it's not accurate? Budget issues. So people told us that they're allocating budget, but 93% said they're allocating budget for AI. Um, but are they allocating enough? I would say no, because it's the number two business pain point. Uh, and then implementation time takes too long, 29%. Incidentally, I mentioned earlier, time to value slows down when data quality is dubious. Just calling out the data quality issue again. And then cultural resistance or lack of trust. Like people don't want to use this. They want to they're stuck in their old ways. I'm stuck in my old ways. We've been talking about modernizing some of our back-end research infrastructure, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I know what I'm doing now is not great, but I like my current approach to research. But yeah, people don't like change. Maybe what they're doing now isn't perfect, but it works for them and they're comfortable with it and they don't want to learn something new. Even though AI supposedly makes everything easier, it doesn't always necessarily do that. Um, so the payoff. Uh, how does AI change network operations? Like, how does it change the way network teams work? We asked them that to select from like five or six. These are the ones that really were up there. Um, Faster execution of tasks. We're just getting things done quicker, which is great. Maybe that leads to a faster mean time to resolution, or maybe it just means that we're responding to change requests faster, and things like that. We're less prone to errors. The mistakes we make are going down. That's a big one. And reduced toil, like busy work's just going away. We no longer have to generate all these reports every month for compliance and everything because the AI tools a lot, will interact with them directly and be like, hey, what kind of report do you want? Things like that. But also just um, spending less time like pulling information from each switch through CLI might be another example of reduced toil. Incidentally, the thing that was the lowest opportunity here with that particular question was empowering lower skilled employees. So that is not seen as big an opportunity put to enable your tier one engineers, for instance, to do more complex stuff. Probably because like the directors, the network architects are like, well, I still don't want to let them take on certain things. I trust my tier three engineers to handle that stuff. I don't even with AI, I don't think AI makes them smart about things they don't know about. Same thing with like, hey, you want to vibe code? Well, even if you're gonna vibe code, you can't really vibe code unless you actually know coding, because how do you know that the code that your AI tool generates is any good and is gonna work? You're gonna just put it in production when you don't even know how to code. Same thing goes with like tier one engineers who you don't want to. let them vibe engineer, you know. Um, Business benefits. We asked them, what are the biggest business benefits you've seen so far with your application of AI to network management? And the biggest one was faster mean time to resolution or repair or remediation, whatever. Um, which kind of lines up with how people are working faster in general. Improved network performance and resilience is another one. So the network's just more stable and is providing a better experience to people in general. Reduce security risk. So even though security risk is a business pain point for adopting AI, they also find that it reduces security risk. It's good at, for instance, identifying vulnerabilities on your network so that you can go out and investigate whether that you should resolve them. It's good at optimizing security policy, perhaps. It's good at identifying anomalies for sure. It's been doing that for quite a while, even before the rise of large language models. Anomaly detection was roaring away in the market. Um, and then cost optimization. So they see this as an opportunity to just reduce the amount of money they're spending on things like the network, but also things like the cloud. Like, hey, based on a good example would be like an AI agent that just goes out and like looks at whether there's like traffic going in and out of any workloads in your cloud and be like, hey, this workload hasn't like talked to anything in a year. Maybe you should turn it off. Things like that. So, final thoughts. Um, the network team expects AI solutions from vendors. It is influencing their vendor selection big time. They do want to leverage AI to reduce busy work, to help them be more productive. IT organizations are allocating budget for AI-driven NetOps, but we did see indications that in a lot of cases it's not enough because it was also the lack of budget was the number two pain point um, business pain point. Most network teams want to do better with AI. Only I think it was 36% said they were completely successful right now with their use of AI tools. That needs to go up. Uh, if the AI revolution is going to happen, like people think it is, IT organizations need to improve how they evaluate AI solutions. Uh, less than half were completely confident in their ability to evaluate the AI that's being sold to them. And finally, just can't repeat this enough, data quality is a major hurdle for getting value out of AI. Because garbage in leads to garbage out. It's as simple as that. So EMA's recommendations, fight for an AI budget, get more money. Establish an IT tool architecture team that can evaluate AI solutions. I talked to a lot of people who are tool architects, and they tend to have a very comprehensive view over tool strategy that isn't, they have a strategic approach to tools. Whereas sometimes if the engineering and operations teams are just responsible for tool selection, they can be more tactical. They might they might just buy a new tool and lead to more tool sprawl as opposed to thinking about how they can expand what they do with existing tools or replace two or three tools with one comprehensive tool, for instance. So that sort of strategic thinking about tool strategy can be very valuable. And then if you layer on AI expertise or AI contemplation, like these tool architects that I talk to them about their approach to AI, and they take a more like holistic view of the situation. They're not they and they are taking time to test this stuff, and it's and they're learning how to evaluate it, and they're thinking about how they can develop their own models and integrate train train models on their own data and integrate those into their tools directly. For instance, I was having a conversation with someone, a tool architect team, middle of last year, I was having a conversation with them about how they had switched from one vendor to another for network observability. And I asked them, well, what kinds of AI solutions do you want from this new vendor? Because I don't think they have any yet. Um, and they said, we don't want any, actually. What we want is like um, an MCP server that's supported by them because we are going to develop we're training our own model and we want to integrate our model with their tool. Um, and so that's an example of a tool architecture team that's like looking at the AI world and thinking about, do I just want to consume whatever AI this vendor is going to give me, or do I want to take control and train my own model and integrate it? So think about that. Get serious about network data quality. I spent a lot of time last quarter talking to people about network source of truth. Why are you developing network source of truth? Well, our data was a mess. Whenever a network operator needed to solve a problem, they had to go to five, six, seven different data repositories, all of varying quality, some of them obscure, some of them non-existent, some of them on a laptop somewhere owned by an engineer who didn't want to share it. And we wanted to get that all in one place and we wanted to make sure it was good quality, but that took us a year to do. Data quality is a plague on network operations. You might have some good tools that have good data in it, but those tools are just one piece of your overall operations, like you might have a good monitoring tool, but you're not going to get IP address space out of that monitoring tool, or an IP address plan out of that monitoring tool. You might not get full inventory of your network out of that monitoring tool. You might not get config standards out of that monitoring tool. All that data lives somewhere else. All that data can help with AI insights, enrich an AI model. And if all that data is messy, it's not going to help you at all. Educate upper management. AI will not solve network complexity and data quality issues. I specifically talked to someone for this research who told me that he felt that his network data was so bad and his network lacked standards and was so complex that he said that before he invested in an AI tool for network management, he wanted to invest in an AI tool for cleaning up his network and his data. I don't know if that kind of tool exists, but that was what he wanted first. So upper management might be like, hey, isn't AI going to fix all your problems? And you'll have to say, well, no, it's not because we have a lot of complexity that we need to solve. And it's going to take us some time to do that. And we have really terrible data and we need to address that. And if we don't, then whatever AI you tell us to buy is not going to work. Finally, learn from mistakes. One interesting piece of data in this research was that a lot of, I think most of the people in this survey told us that they had seen AI tools give them bad insights about their network. Um, Most of them said that they had seen the AI tools come to incorrect conclusions and provide incorrect advice about their network. Now, when I sliced those responses to that question by success, an almost equal number of people who were seeing mistakes. The survey was almost equally split. Like half of the people who had seen mistakes were still feeling very successful about their use of AI, and another half were feeling not so great. So it was an interesting example of extremes. Like some of the people that were experiencing mistakes were doing well with AI, and some of the people that were seeing mistakes were doing poorly with AI. And what I think was happening was some of those people were seeing the mistakes and taking steps to address that gap. Huh, this AI is not working properly. Why is that? Let's teach it to do better. Let's learn from our mistakes. Let's help AI learn from its mistakes. Um, that means you need vendors who can help with that process, who are providing you solutions that can learn from their mistakes. It's not just a black box and like, oh, this works. Don't worry. If it doesn't work, uh, I don't have anything for you. Like it's got to be able to learn from mistakes. You got to be able to tell it that you're not happy with what it's showing you. Um, and if you're training your own model, you need to like adjust that training if you're seeing mistakes happen, or you need or you need to take a look at your data that is being used, that is being like accessed by agents, and say to yourself, hey, I'm giving agentic access to my network source of truth. And every time I do, I'm getting bad results. I think there might be a problem with my network source of truth. Is it still an accurate? Does it still does my intent for the network match up with the network state? Let me do an analysis to make sure that it still does because networks tend to drift from the intent. So learn from mistakes. If you're seeing mistakes, figure out where those mistakes are happening and fix it. And that is it for me. You can download the report. There's a lot more in the report than what I talked about here. Um, so you want to dig into that, click that link. Well, I don't think you can click that link, but you can type it down and get it. And now I will turn it over to Raleigh for questions.
Thanks, Shamus. Let's jump in. The first one is, what's your view on the importance of automation in the journey to AI-driven NetOps? And what's your data show on how mature enterprises are with their automation practices?
Could you repeat that question?
Sure, it's a two-parter, so let's start with the first one. It is, what's your view on the importance of automation in the journey to AI-driven NetOps?
I mean, it's kind of a chicken and egg thing. I mean, AI, a lot of people view AI as a means to automation, but yeah, I'm not sure I understand the question. Like, I guess are they saying like you have to have good automation tools in place to enable AI um, to take action on your network? I guess, yeah. I mean, or maybe they're saying like how. I don't really understand. I'm not really sure that the question is very clear to me. So here's a couple answers. First off, automation tools, a good automation tool set, whether you're getting it from a vendor or if you've built it yourself, because I know a lot of people build it themselves, is is going to include good network data, right? Like a good source of truth, because any automated change on your network needs to reference data to understand how the network's supposed to look before it makes a change, right? That's a very simplified way of describing it, but a mature automation tool set is going to have good data. That's my opinion. So in that case, it enables AI-driven NetOps because AI needs good data. On the other hand, AI-driven network operations is an opportunity to add a lot of automation to your network management. And so you want AI tools that can take action on your network if that's the way you want to go. And that kind of gets us to the idea of autonomous networking, which a lot of people in this research were interested in. Autonomous networking, taking a human out of the loop and letting a lot of things go, like, hey, just fix that. Don't tell me about it, just fix it. Hey, optimize that. If you're seeing a spike in traffic, deal with it. AI can drive a lot of automation. Now, trust in that autonomous networking is going to take time. Um, and a lot of people talk about human in the loop. And I think that's where most engineering and operations teams are right now is, human in the loop. I want to improve stuff. I mean, I can think of one person who put it in a good way, an interesting way, though. Someone I was talking to for this research said, well, on one hand, I see autonomous networking as making a lot of sense because 100% of our outages are caused by human error. So it would be good to get humans out of things. Um, but on the other hand, humans are usually good at figuring out things that are really complex, and can usually detect whether AI is going to do something bad before it happens. If they can see get a good view of the plan that AI has for implementing something automatically. So human in the loop is where I think that people are going. In terms of, I think the second part of the question was about where people are with network automation maturity. I think that network automation has matured significantly over the last 5 years. The problem is that a lot of that maturity has happened in homegrown tool sets. And now a lot of people who have gotten really mature with the homegrown tool sets are thinking about technical debt and the fact that like it's really hard to hire more people to maintain and advance their mature network automation strategy. So they're kind of like at a crossroads and thinking about how they can get how vendors can deliver more value so they can go further with it. It's also I mean, and I'm going to harp on this again. Like one of the things I see happening as people get more mature with network automation is they get more serious about their network data because they realize that they can't really have a mature network automation practice if their data quality is poor. So that usually is a sign of like increased maturity. Is like, oh, we gotta do something about our scattered, inaccurate data about our network. We need to document our network better. And so I'm starting to see a lot of people devote resources to improving data quality. So data quality is not just about AI-driven network management, it's also about network automation.
Great. Thank you for those insights, Shamus. The next question is, what have you been seeing with regards to enterprises using deductive reasoning techniques instead of, or as well as, just performing ML on large data sets?
Okay, so deductive, it's not a word that um, I've had come up in conversations. Haven't heard it. I guess, yeah. So machine learning is really good at finding patterns and learning what those patterns might mean based on like training. Here's some anomalies. We think it's this. Deductive, I guess what they mean by deductive reasoning is like forming a theory about what's going on, describing uh, what's, what the problem is, what it's affecting, um, what caused it and what possibly you could do to fix it. I guess that's what they mean. And, that might also describe what people call agentic operations, where you have like different agents working together to solve problems, to identify, to detect, identify, and solve, detect, understand, and solve problems. I guess that's deductive reasoning to some extent. In terms of like what are enterprises using this? Well, they want to. They want, as you saw in the research, they're not really interested in or leading with or leaning into virtual assistants that can just answer questions about their network. Like, hey AI, what are my five what are the five, what are the five most critical alerts I should look at? Here they are. That's 6 years ago. Hey AI, what are the who are the 10 users that are having the worst time right now on their network? Here we think it's these 10 people. That's that's well, that's not machine learning, which was part of the question, but it is um, it is what people kind of started leaving behind for something that's more deductive, I guess, or agentic. People want that. Do they have it? They're starting to see things offered from vendors, and they're thinking about trying it. Some of them are trying it. Some of them are trying to build things internally that can do it. So that's where they want to go. In terms of like whether they're there or not is another story. But I didn't necessarily ask the question like who's doing it, like agentic ops versus just machine learning. We didn't ask that question, so I can't give you a simple answer on that. But I tried to offer some color around it. Hopefully that helped.
Thanks, Shamus. What's your view on net DevOps and why?
Um, Kind of off topic. uh, think I don't know. Maybe there's a missing part of that question. Net DevOps. Okay, well that's going to be like topic of research for me in a quarter or two. Um, net DevOps is usually when I talk to someone who says they are a net DevOps engineer, they're applying DevOps principles to network operations, specifically network automation. They are trying to do continuous iteration, continuous deployment, or CI/CD. They're trying to do some platform engineering, building tools that meet the needs of that enable like uh, test, deploy, rollback, fix, deploy again. They're using a lot of open source tools to do that, using a lot of Python scripts. They're I think that NetDevOps is growing. It is a practice where they try to. One person described to me as like, we're trying to make the networks like consumable as a series of applications for our business or from other groups within the IT organization, through a lot of automation, through better observability as well. AI a part of that? It can be. A lot of the people I talk to in the net DevOps space really want to apply AI to their tools in some way, or they want vendors to deliver it. So yeah, but that's it's really a practice of like taking a DevOps approach to network tooling and so yeah, it's out there, it's growing. I'll do some more research on it later this year if you're interested.
Good to know. Thanks, Shamus. That will wrap up today's presentation. I wanted to thank everyone for taking time out of your schedule to join us today. As I mentioned, you will be receiving a follow-up email from EMA today that will include the on-demand playback as well as additional information about the new research. Also, I encourage you to check out all the sponsor sites. Most, if not all of them, should also have the report available for free. And also check out their solutions. Thank you again for joining us and enjoy the rest of your day.